I am back, and I just want to talk to you real quick about some political issues. Even though North Carolina was growing by leaps and bounds, we still had some issues. Some of the issues led to, even though we had revamped education and we were moving forward and all that, we also had some racial tensions and some disenfranchisement uh, with between African Americans at this point in time. One thing that happened, a good thing that happened with this, if there's anything good, is the fact that in your prison systems, they were owned by private people or private corporations, and these corporations would lease these prisoners out to actually work railroads and do road work and build structures and things of that nature. At first, they wasn't paid. This was like a modern form of slavery or indentured servitude, which was illegal. So therefore, the states took over these private prisons that we have. Also, you think about this. You think about in 1900, 2/3 of our children's population were enrolled in schools, and that had to change. And the reason why that had to change is because the literacy rate and everything had to. And you remember we talked about Archibald Murphy, who tried to reform this way back in the day. Actually came to be actually materialized. However, you had a guy named Charles B. Aycock, and what happened with him? The Democratic Party had passed a series of things that disenfranchise African Americans. In other words, you break the word down and pretty much put them at a disadvantage. One thing was, and we had talked about this before during Reconstruction, there were some things that were put in place that actually stayed in place, which led to segregation or what you call Jim Crow laws. And what had happened, was the grandfather clause. This is kind of review. The grandfather clause is one. The other thing was the literacy test and also poll tax. Like I said, this is a total review, so I'm just hitting it quick and moving. But and also due to the Plessy versus Ferguson case, it also led to the segregation of children in schools and also people in restaurants and all those type things that were to be upheld by law. So that led to some things that was actually going to go down later on, but we'll kick that can on down the road. However, around 1900, this was going down in North Carolina, also across the nation, or across the Southeast. So those were some things that kind of disenfranchised and segregated. So this was kind of, even though that blacks were educated, things like that, it was still a step back as far as the society. So just wanted to introduce you to that before we kept going.